Hello everybody, this is Tate and Alvis, the Haw River Assembly's River Watch intern, and today I'm going to be taking you through the interesting world of macro-invertebrates. Macro-invertebrates are any organisms that we find in the creeks that don't have a backbone but can be seen by the naked eye, hence the term macro-invertebrates. These are very important organisms because they help us determine the stream's quality of health, because a lot of them are very pollution sensitive. So when I go out here every week and look for different macro-invertebrates, it's giving me an idea of how polluted or not polluted this stream is. Today I'm out on Fan Branch. I'm going to be taking you to various sites. This is going to be a large project, but I've actually found quite a bit today, and I'm going to show you some of the stuff that we found. First things first, I'm going to walk you through where exactly we can find said macro-invertebrates. First place that I like to look are nice little areas like this, where there's a lot of root coverage, because a lot of clinging macro-invertebrates will hold on to debris such as this when they are eating leaf litter called detrite. I found that a great place to find damselflies is actually inside of these root systems. Another important thing to factor in when you're looking for macro-invertebrates is the flow. A lot of macro-invertebrates have gills that require constant movement of water across them in order to obtain their oxygen levels, and therefore places such as this with high rate of flow are fairly good for finding macro-invertebrates. One of my favorite places to look for them, since it's probably the easiest, is to just simply flip over stones, because there's a lot of clinging or crawling macro-invertebrates that like to live under the stones, namely caddisflies and mayflies. I've actually found dragonfly larva under here too. I find dragonfly larva a lot in leaf litter as well, which we're going to get to right now. Like I just said, places like this with a lot of leaf litter, I'll show you, boom, are really good for finding macro-invertebrates, because that is the primary diet of a lot of these organisms. So now that we have the main areas where these organisms are found, like, you know, roots, under rocks, in leaf litter, and in high flow areas, let's get on to actually finding some stuff. Alright, first thing we find here is a little snail. And this snail is special because it's a gilled snail. And I'll show you how you can tell that it's a gilled snail in a second. Pop him off. Okay, first off, let's see if we can get the focus. He has an opening on the right. On the right. There you go. Second off, he has this little plate called an Operculum, which he's not going in his shell, but there's a place right on top where he has a hard opening, or a hard structure over top of his foot that protects him, and that's one of the main ways you can identify it as a gilled snail, not a pocket snail. Gilled snails, as the name implies, get their oxygen from the water and not from the air, and therefore are a lot more pollution sensitive because they're always filtering the water through their gills. It's a great find. This indicates that this is a healthy stream. Alright, we're going to peer down into my net where I just scooped from these roots here, and you'll notice two things. One is a small crayfish. Where's he at? There he is, you can see him. And if you look closely, there's another guy hiding here. Oh, you saw him. There he is. It's a little salamander. I would just call him a two-line salamander, but this isn't a macro-invertebrate. Salamanders have backbones, so he doesn't get counted. But crayfish here come in many different shapes and sizes as well. I think there's over 100 species at least in the United States. Don't quote me on that. But this guy's special too because he indicates a good water quality. He's missing a claw. He's a cool little guy. They're pretty easy to find, typical in a lot of streams. But this guy is also a macro-invertebrate, even though he is quite large. Scoop this guy up downstream. This is a small Dragonfly Larva. He's kind of ugly. Looks like a caterpillar, but he's got like these abdominal protrusions. Or actually, this is at the end of the abdomen. They look like tentacles. I think they're used for gripping onto things. But he's pretty ugly, not gonna lie, but this is another indicator of a healthy stream environment, so that's good. You can see the way that he moves, he's just like a little caterpillar. like an inchworm, I would describe it. This right here is a fun little guy that I just scooped up. This is a Damselfly. They have three short little, let me see if I can pick them up. There you go. They have three little stout antennae on the end, and they are typically pretty long. This is a pretty large one. You can see he almost has his little wings, but that's cool. They usually stick this up in the air, like so. And I usually find them, like I said, right here. See if we can get him to stand up. See, they'll open up the little tail protrusions and just crawl around. They are clinging macro-invertebrates, and they love to walk around in the roots. These are an indicator of a healthy stream environment as well. Right here we have a pretty unique and interesting macro-invertebrate. This is a Riffle Beetle, and they actually spend most of their lives underwater, walking around in the substrate and on the roots and such. Very interesting. This is actually the first one I've seen, so that's good. They're an indicator of a very healthy stream environment. And you can also see he's walking past a little Dragonfly Larva right here. That's a very small one. It's pretty cool to see. Multiple Dragonfly Larva. They like to sit on the leaf litter and in the roots is where I mostly find them. And they come in all different shapes and sizes, but these are like the most typical. There's some round ones that have round abdomen. I found one today that is a large oval abdomen. But they're pretty interesting. I don't know where that Riffle Beetle went. I need a picture of it. There he is. Awesome find. Actually found one in the larval phase at the other site. They're like they look almost like the Crayfish larva that we saw earlier, but they're a lot smaller, and they have a little hinge on the base of their abdomen. These guys right here are very interesting because I can't see the actual organism in there, but I know that there's a Caddisfly larva sitting in there somewhere because they are known to make cases, and these are very pollution sensitive. These are actually the first I've found at a site I've surveyed this year, and that's pretty exciting. I found a lot of net spinners, which just kind of pick up debris. I'm sure we could find one of those somewhere. But these guys have a very distinct hard case on them. No, it's a Caddisfly. Like I said earlier, these guys can be found in riffles like this by flipping up rocks. That is where you're going to find them almost 100% of the time. Awesome find. This isn't a macro-invertebrate, but I'm going to show it because I'm kind of a fish buff. I was flipping rocks looking for Mayflies and Caddisflies when I came across this. I was like, that's weird. That looks like a Fantail Darter nest. It is. I saw the parent over there. Darters are fish that like to sit on the bottom, and the Fantail Darters will glue their eggs onto the top side of a rock, and they will sit under it and protect it. He's actually right there. I'm not sure if that's I think it's a fantail. Looks exactly, maybe I can catch it with the net. But yeah, it's got a nest right under there, that darter. Interesting stuff. Case in point, this is why it's really important to put rocks back where you found them in the stream, because you never know what kind of organisms might be using them to make a living. Fun little guy. This is a Mayfly. You see a smaller one on the left too. They have 3 tails. I'll see if I can get him into a little petri dish in a second. But yeah, they sit under rocks a lot of the time. I found them in leaf litter as well, but this is the easiest place to find them. And they're also an indicator of a very healthy stream environment. They kind of crawl around and wriggle around on the rocks, and they have these cool gills that undulate in the water, and we'll see if we can see that right now. We're just gonna hold this guy in our hands. His gills are a bit hard to see, but they are moving. You can kind of see it on the lower end of his abdomen, and then a big indicator of these guys are the 3 tails. You see 1, 2, 3, and they kind of splay out and make almost like a 30-degree angle, I'd say, between them two. Boom. pretty cool. And then this one has a round head, very stout body. They come in many different shapes and sizes, just like all of this other organisms. This is a general classification of Mayfly. Awesome. This guy right here is a net spinner caddis fly. They're not quite as pollution sensitive as the typical caddis flies. And a dead giveaway here is he's kind of free roaming. He does make little nets, which I don't even see, honestly, on this rock. And that would be filled with like debris and sediment, pebbles and such. But yeah, these guys aren't as pollution sensitive, but still cool to find out on the river, and you always find them under rocks. This right here is a great find and an indicator of really good water quality, and this is a stonefly. This is the first one I found sampling, so that's exciting. You can tell him apart from a mayfly because he's got two antennae, and he's also kind of longer and skinnier looking with tinier legs and just a more like evenly spaced body, I guess. But yeah, this is an awesome find. You always find these guys under rocks. And the two tails with that body shape is a dead giveaway. And this is by far the best survey I've ever done. Sorry about that. This is a water penny. That's amazing. That's another indicator of really good water quality. These are super easy to identify. They remind me of chitons in salt water, but they just kind of stick to the rock and meander about. And they are gilled, they breathe underwater. They're really small. Here's an indicator there. You can barely see him. It's this little, right there, little pill looking guy. Kind of like a penny. It's awesome to see though. Great find. Almost all of the really pollution sensitive guys can be found in riffles such as this one, with a lot of water flow to saturate their gills. And this is just probably one of the best places to look for macro-invertebrates if you're interested in going out on your own. Looks like there's evidence here of a chub mound, which is cool, but that's for another video. But this is awesome to see, because it shows that there's like a lot of life here aside from just the macro-invertebrates. Chubs make these mounds by placing the pebbles in a big stack. So if you ever see one of those, that's probably what you're seeing is a chub mound. And all the fish will congregate on there. And it's a really awesome sight to see. But this is also another indicator of a healthy ecosystem, because, you know, obviously the fish have enough food to survive, reproduce, and thrive in this creek. While I'm out here, I also report the general conditions of the stream, such as if I see a lot of trash, or if the stream's channelized, such as right here, where it's been made to go through this big old tunnel right here, carved out, whereas a natural stream would be meandering about like right up here. That's actually meandering, and that means it goes back and forth, and that helps decrease erosion. And this reporting that helps us better understand the factors that are conducive for these macro-invertebrates to grow. It's a cool area. After I'm finished looking around for macro-invertebrates, I fill out a big sheet containing all this information about the creek and all the macro-invertebrates that I found, and that goes onto a map on the Haw River Assembly's website. So you can actually check out how your local creeks in the Haw watershed are doing. Along with macro-invertebrates, I like to make a note of the water quality using a YSI meter, and I also make note of the uses of the surrounding watershed, such as this one, which is very residential and commercial. I'm actually surprised that it scored so well, so that's good. Alright, surveying is wrapped up and everything looks pretty good. Everything scored well today, which is good to see. I hope you enjoyed watching me do some of my internship work, and hopefully you learned a little bit about macro-invertebrates. And if you're interested in getting involved at all, I'm sure just contact the Haw River Assembly. This is a volunteer project as well, and I'm sure they'd love to have some more help out monitoring sites. So hopefully you enjoyed it, learned something, and I'll catch you later.